If it's Friday night, for the final time this season, say yeah, for it's the season finale of Strictly Sports. Hello, friends. Anthony Flair here with you for the season finale of Strictly Sports. Oh my Lord in heaven! I don't know what else there there is to say here except I do apologize for the late start. It's because major technical difficulties on my end. I have no clue what happened. I think I just had to reset my settings. I think that's what it was, and I reset the settings, and now everything's okay, and these guys can hear me. So I got my good brothers with me, Girl MF, Michael Fletcher, and Michael Bullock as well. So I'm so sorry, good brothers, and all of you out there. I honestly had no idea that this happened, and I'm glad these guys spoke up and said something. And otherwise, we would have been dead air all night. So, all right. So that being said, I know we have a college football preview to do. We're gonna do it, but here's the thing: we're just gonna go rapid fire, and that's basically what we have to do because we took so much time, getting these situations set up here. So, okay, started off with the ACC, Atlantic Division, Boston College, Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, NC State, Syracuse, Wake Forest. Coastal Division, you got Duke, Georgia Tech, Miami, North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. Make it short and sweet. I like Florida State in the Atlantic, and in the Coastal Division, I mean, I really don't know who to go with. I'm leaning towards Miami and North Carolina. I think they're the two best teams in that division. But I ultimately think Florida State's going to win the ACC because I think Florida State just has the best team all around. So I'm just going to leave it at that. So cancel the power rankings. Yeah, that might be a good idea. Even though I know we're slated to do it. Yeah, because we want to really get into the college football stuff and Michael Bullock's experiences from the big time wrestling events. So I'll say it like this. I just think Florida State has the best team right now. You heard what I was trying to say earlier for some of you who were, watching. But the Atlantic now calls itself home because of the defending national champion Clemson. Their thrilling win over Alabama in the title game, and heading into 2017, they're going to have to replace multiple weapons on offense while their division rival to the South, Florida State, looks ready to contend for a title once more. And the Seminoles' biggest problem, they were protecting redshirt freshman DeAndre Francois, allowing 36 sacks. And he had a great year throwing the ball, 3,300 plus yards, 20 TDs, 7 INT. And he needs to improve his accuracy, and that's what Francois has to do. And they added 5-star running back Cam Akers, who should settle in nicely in Dalvin Cook's absence. Auden Tate, 6'5" wide receiver, started 4 games last year, but figures to see more time with Rudolph and Kermit Whitfield gone. And the Seminoles had the top recruiting class in the ACC, according to 247 Sports, and should have enough talented replacements to match last year's production. And the defense looking like one of the best units in the country. Even though they did lose their third-team All-American DeMarcus Walker and Marquez White. But everyone else is back, and they got Derwin James back from injury. And look for the secondary of James, Trey Marshall, and Tavares McFadden, and A.J. Westbrook to make life miserable for opposing QBs, particularly with nose guard Derek Nandi playing the role of wrecking ball up front. And the Noles gave up 25 points and 349 yards last year, and those numbers couldn't improve with the unit. And the schedule pretty rough, however. They have to face Bama in week 1, road dates with Clemson and Florida in the final 3 weeks. They get Miami and Louisville at home. And Jimbo Fisher's squad is looking for revenge for the embarrassing loss to Louisville last year. They're going to be in the playoff race, and they're my favorite to not only make the title game, but win it as well. So ultimately, Florida State is who I have winning this whole thing in the ACC. So with that being said, Girl MF Michael Fletcher, if you're all ready to go, your thoughts on the ACC and who do you like and why?
All right. First off, I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, MF.
All right. Good. Good evening. Good evening. Normally I would say, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, Anthony, and say, yes, I like Florida State. But the problem is that I don't discount what Clemson did last season. Remember, this was the team that I rode all the way to the national championship. I said Clemson was going to win the ACC. I said Clemson was going to make the playoffs. And not only did I say that they were going to make the playoffs, that they were going to win the whole thing. And they did. They made me look like a genius. I completely understand why you would say Florida State because of, they did bring a lot of their guys back from last season, and no doubt about it. And they're going to be a really, really, really good team, to say the very least. So I just don't know if Florida State has what it takes to win the national championship. I think that's the one thing I'm a little concerned about. I don't think they're going to win the national title, though. I don't think they're going to go all the way to the trophy. I think they're going to come a little close, but I do see them winning the ACC. I think that's a fair assessment. But as far as I go, we'll wait and see what happens. Michael Bullock, go ahead. It's yours.
Yeah, as far as the for the Atlantic Conference, when it comes to the ACC, I have to go with I basically have to go with Clemson. Yeah, they did lose some key players via the draft. Florida State's going to be right there, no doubt about it. But it's just I have to stick with Clemson. Because they are the defending national champions, and until I see something that proves me that's not going to happen, I just simply can't go against them. Florida State will be right there, but I just really don't see it. And then as far as in the Coastal Conference, I have to go with this is a tough one, but I'm going to go with Miami in this one, but basically in the end, Clemson's going to win it overall. So really got nothing else to say. Let's just move on to the next major conference.
And I want MF to lead off on this one because this is his conference after all, since he's due up next in the order. Your conference, MF, the Big Ten. You got Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, and Rutgers in the East. Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, Northwestern, Purdue, Wisconsin in the West. All right, MF. East Division, West Division of the Big Ten. Of course, Michigan had a huge year last year, came up just short against Ohio State, but Ohio State ultimately went on to win the conference in one of the most, and maybe the most thrilling Ohio State-Michigan game of all time. So MF, it's only fitting we start this off with you because this is your conference and you are next up in the order anywho. So, excuse me, the teams, the divisions, who comes out of the Big Ten.
Well, let's go over to the West first because I think the West is going to be a little bit more compelling this year. Iowa, who won that end of the division, as always. Iowa won it. But, you always got to keep your eye out for teams like Wisconsin, and I'll even say Nebraska, even though I know Nebraska overall was a major disappointment, which was 6-7 in overall, 3-5. And then you had, with everything that went down. And actually, is that from, that's 2015, 2016. Whoa, wait a minute. Hold up. That's wrong. Well, what Dinkelberg threw me this stat? Hold on. I'm sorry, folks. Somebody threw me some horrific juju on that one. All right. Well, like I said, conference-wise, last year, Nebraska was 6-3, 4-2 divisional-wise, and a 9-4 overall record. Wisconsin won the West Division, which was basically 11-3, 7-2 in the conference. So, you're going to see the usual suspects, which is Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska. They're going to be battling it out. The one other team I'd probably say keep an eye on out for is keep an eye out on Minnesota. I think Minnesota, because of what they did, especially at home, they were 6-1 last year at home. What really was their Achilles heel was going on the road. They just had a rough go at it last season. If you think about it with Minnesota, Minnesota I thought was a pleasant surprise. And the thing was, when they were playing, some of their tough losses were against the powerhouses. They lost to Penn State. They lost to Iowa. Nebraska. They got tripped up by Nebraska, not by much. They only lost by 7 in that game, and then they lost two touchdowns to Wisconsin. So I mean, when you got those type of teams, as always, you always want to make sure you make a big run and have a good performance. And then, of course, on the East, it's going to be the usual suspects: Michigan, Ohio State. But keep an eye on Penn State, because remember, Penn State got in because of the fact that they had that head-to-head win over Ohio State earlier in the year. When they got that win, that propelled them. They leapfrogged over Michigan, over Ohio State. They went to the Big Ten Conference Championship game. Not only won that game, they went to the Rose Bowl last year. And a lot of people were saying maybe they were more deserving and more fitting of being in the playoff instead of Ohio State. But even though the overall record, Ohio State was 11-2, Penn State was 11-3. Basically, all other records were virtually identical, except for a couple of here and there games. But I understand why they were a little more upset about that than anything else. But, when you try to put the top 4 teams in college football, sometimes that is not an easy thing to do. But at the end of the day, they gave the benefit of the doubt, and they gave it to Penn State. So, but I think Urban Meyer and Ohio State will be right there in the mix. I don't count out Jim Harbaugh and Michigan. I think Michigan is poised for a huge season this year. They looked really good. They did get tripped up against Iowa. That was a real bad loss for them. That really ruined any hope. And then that loss against Ohio State. Oh my God, I'm still having nightmares over that game. We had that game in the bag, and oh God, I'm still killing. Like, you know me, not many losses bothers me. Whenever there's a loss, okay, I'll deal with it, fine, whatever. But this Penn State the Ohio State loss still bothers me, still to this day. And I think it's probably going to bother me for a while before I can really get over that loss. But yeah, so you got a 3-horse race in the East Division, a 3-horse race in the West Division. Who gets out of there? I don't even know. I mean, that's how competitive this is this year. I think you're going to see a lot of fireworks in the Big Ten. So I can't give you a clear-cut winner, because I don't think there is a clear-cut winner this time around. So, Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you. Big Ten.
All right. When it comes to the Big Ten, of course, I'm going to start with the East. Yeah, like you said, Michigan had a really good season. Of course, basically having it crushed by Ohio State. As much as I hate to say it, I gotta go with Ohio State winning that portion of the Big Ten Conference with the East. Michigan, I think, is going to finish in second place. And as far as the West is concerned, I have to go with I got to go with Nebraska in this one. But then basically, when it comes to overall in the Big Ten, it's definitely got to be Ohio State. So, yeah, nothing else to say. Floria, what's yours?
Yeah, make it short and sweet here. Let me get my notes here. I'll just give you who I like in the in each division. In the East, it's Ohio State, the obvious choice with 15 returning starters and a veteran quarterback. Urban Meyer has lost 3 bowl games in his career and has come back to win the national championship after losing the first 2. Buckeyes will be tested opening the season in Indiana and then hosting the rematch with Oklahoma. They host Penn State off a bye week and will need to close the show at Michigan in their regular season finale. Ohio State should be unbeaten heading into the Big Ten Conference Championship and the college football playoffs. In the West, I like Iowa. They're always at their best when you least expect it. Last year, Iowa had a dream schedule, lost its non-conference showdown with North Dakota State, and basically mailed in the rest of their 8-5 season. This year, the Hawkeyes returned 2 formidable lines and have 2 potential 1,000-yard rushers that should keep opposing offenses off the field. With the departure of Bob Stoops, Kirk Ferentz is now the longest tenured coach in major college football, and he's made a better stuff. So I like Ohio State and Iowa, but ultimately I like Ohio State to win the Big Ten. So let's move on to the Big 12. Michael Bullock, front and center.
All right, when it comes to the Big 12 here, of course, the big story is, of course, the end of an era with, of course, Bob Stoops retiring. So it's going to be a tough road for this Oklahoma squad. Basically, excuse me. Yeah, I expect. I'm just trying to pull up the. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to pull up my my notes here on the on my phone. Oklahoma. Who knows? They could still be in the race, but like I said, it's going to be tough for them with the. It's going to be tough when it comes to, because basically last season Oklahoma State, of course, they come into the preseason as the number 11 team, while Oklahoma, they actually ranked number 8. So basically, I think it could come down to those two. But in the end, even though there is no Bob Stoops, I simply cannot go against Oklahoma. So I think I got to go with Oklahoma to win win that conference, with Oklahoma State basically finishing a close second. So basically, I got nothing more to say. Florio, what's yours? What do you think? Do you think Oklahoma not having Bob Stoops is going to affect them?
Well, after months of speculation and presentations to start last season, the Big 12 Conference decided not to expand after all. The championship game is back, despite having just 10 teams in the conference. And this year, there are 5 teams that can make a run at a title game appearance, which I think could make this season a lot of fun. But to me, Bullock, you're absolutely right. It's Oklahoma. They only lost 2 games last season, but they both came early in high-profile showdowns against Houston and Ohio State. That left them basically out of the playoff picture in people's minds before conference season began. And then they went on to win 9 straight, including a 35-19 beatdown of Auburn in the Sugar Bowl. And they have a new head coach in Lincoln Riley. He's got 16 guys back to work with, and the biggest boost to the team was Baker Mayfield deciding to forego the NFL draft and come back for senior year. And they need him to guide a set of skill position guys that will be breaking in some new names. Having all 5 starters back along the offensive line should help as well, despite the losses of Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon, and Dede Westbrook. It's not like the cupboard is barren at running back wide receiver. Rodney Anderson and Abdul Adams are former 4- and 3-star recruits, respectively, while Jeffrey Mead and Marquise Brown were both 4-star guys. And while they're relatively inexperienced, there's plenty of talent led by a veteran quarterback and offensive line. And the unit should be explosive once again, though may fall short of the 44 points, the otherworldly 44 points they averaged last year. Defense was disappointing, allowing nearly 30 a game, though some of that can be explained by the significant injuries they suffered along the D-line. And this year, Mike Stoops has 3 starters back in the secondary, including Jordan Thomas, first-team Big 12, 2 in the linebackers group and 2 along the line. I expect some improvement as long as they stay healthier than last year. And his first year as head coach, Lincoln Riley has a road game against Ohio State, as well as road contests against Kansas State and Bedlam and Stillwater against Oklahoma State. Those 3 games stand out as significant tests, as does the always heated Red River rivalry with Texas. The Sooners have the talent to push for a playoff spot once more, and that's what I expect. So I got Oklahoma in the Big 12. I agree with you, Bullock. So, MF, do we make that unanimous or what? MF, you're
Fletcher, you there?
Yeah, sorry about that, guy. I forgot to unmute my mic here. No, I agree with that. Of course, Anthony alluded to it. Whenever you get Bedlam and then, of course, the Red River rivalry, there's always something coming out of it. I want to say keep a close eye on Oklahoma State this year. I think they might actually benefit from Oklahoma not having Bob Stoops there. And then one other team that I want to say who actually really did good last season that I want you guys to at least keep a close eye on is West Virginia. I think they might be something that you might want to see, and they might be pretty good. And then one other team that may be flying under the radar that we're not talking about here, Kansas State. Because of the fact that Kansas State actually finished the season red hot, winning the last 4 games, including their bowl game last season, and they were only 6-3 in the conference. So I mean, you give them a couple of opportunities. They keep a few guys from last year. Who knows? Kansas State might sneak up and surprise a few people. But I don't think so. I think it is Oklahoma's to win. But the 3 other teams I just talked about, keep a very close eye on in this upcoming season. Could one of them sneak past and pull a surprise? Absolutely. So nothing more to say. Anthony, let's get on to the next conference.
All righty. And let's see. We covered the we covered the Big, we covered the ACC, we covered the Big 10 and 12, and let's see. So we have 3 left. I believe we have the American, the Pac-12, and the SEC, and then we also have Notre Dame. So let's get into the American. The American Conference, of course. I mean, it's going to. All right, formerly was the Big East, and it's going to be an interesting year for them. I mean, just give me one moment here while I get my notes here. Okay. Yep, definitely. This is a tough one, honestly. I mean, this can go either way. It really can, and I mean, because there's so many good ones in there, and but for me, as I look at it, it's okay. It's of course Charlie Strong is now going to be at USF, and but as I look at it, ultimately, I got to go with Houston. I like Houston in the West. I like South Florida in the East. I mean, very tough, honestly, but just don't know who to go with. But when it comes to Houston, most are going to write them off because they lost head coach Tom Herman and starting quarterback Greg Ward. That would be a mistake. They're going to be just as dynamic offensively under Major Applewhite. They're also well equipped to replace Ward with Texas A&M transfer Kyle Allen, who was a 5-star recruit and rated by several as the top prospect in his class out of high school. And if Houston were to stumble, then I would have to go with Memphis in that conference, honestly. But Allen was with the team last year, and he knows the offense. 8 other starters back on the O side. And Houston's offense could put up even better numbers. Add that with the 7 starters back on what should be the Americans' best defense, and you have a team that could run the table. As far as South Florida is concerned, if a team out of the conference were to make a run at the playoff spot, I think most would give USF the best shot. The Bulls are the only team with odds even listed to make the playoffs. And as previously mentioned, South Florida is changing head coaches with Charlie Strong coming in. Always a concern, but I've got a lot of confidence in Charlie Strong stepping in and keeping this team on track. They returned 16 starters from a team that finished ranked 19 in both the AP and coaches poll. Includes legitimate Heisman candidate and senior quarterback Quentin Flowers, a player who put up very similar numbers to that of Lamar Jackson of Louisville. And Strong has made it clear he wants to run a similar up-tempo offense that fits Flowers' strengths. New offensive coordinator Sterling Gilbert has quite a track record of putting up big numbers. If the defense can improve on its 31-6 allowed, look out. The only concern here is whether the team can handle the hype, and something a lot easier said than done. And I honestly don't see a legit threat to the Bulls in the East. I mean, Temple, who has won the last 2 division titles, figures to suffer a setback. And while I like the hire of Collins, the Owls have just 10 starters back. It will be one of the least experienced teams in the country. My biggest threats to them, however, are UCF and Cincinnati. Knights should be greatly improved in year 2 under Scott Frost. Keep in mind, he took over a team that went 0-12 and got into a bowl game in year 1. Mackenzie Milton matures into the player he believes he can be as a sophomore. This team's going to be tough to beat. And Cincinnati, one of the huge disappointments last year, 1-7 in conference play. Some had them winning the division. And I love the addition of Luke Fickell, who will breathe new life into the program. And combined with a favorable schedule, Bearcats should be back in a bowl game. No doubt about it. So, but for me, I think it's between Houston and South Florida. But ultimately, I have to give a slight edge to South Florida because of the hiring of Charlie Strong. So, and Quentin Flowers. He is a legitimate Heisman candidate. So give me South Florida to win the American. How about it, MF?
I mean, okay, I'll give you South Florida. I get that. I don't know if they're going to be really strong. I mean, they were one of the hottest teams, especially at the end of the season. 11-2 overall, 7-1 in the conference, and they won 5 in a row to close the season a year ago. And the other team that was really red hot was actually Tulsa. Winners of 3 in a row, a 10-3 record. Even though the conference championship was determined between Temple and Navy, never underestimate Navy. I think Navy is definitely they're probably going to be a little bit of a better team than they were a year ago, even though they were 9-5. And yes, they did lose the Army-Navy game, which was unfathomable to believe, but it did happen. Army took out the Navy in that great game about a year or so ago in Philadelphia. And we'll wait and see what happens this time around. But I'll say this. I think USF is probably going to be the team that's probably going to win the conference overall. But I don't know, Anthony. I'm not as strong, or I'm not buying Houston. I don't know. There's something about this team. I just I don't want to say anything bad about them because I said one thing bad about them against Oklahoma and they made me look like an idiot. So I don't know. I kind of feel like yes, they were somewhat disappointing, especially towards the end with that major flame out where they lost 2 in a row at the end of the year. I don't know. I kind of feel like we'll wait and see what happens. But the one team that really is sticking out of my mind is I'll give you Memphis. I also think keeping a close eye on Tulsa, at least when it comes to the West Division. I think in the East, I think USF should win it with Charlie Strong. And plus, they were so unbelievable at the end. They were so red hot at the end of the season. That's why I think they can win this. So, nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I have to go with USF as well. I mean, I think Charlie Strong is going to have this team focused to win this division, and basically with everything that Florio just mentioned there. So there's really nothing more to say. So let's just move on to our next power conference.
Michael Bullock, keep your mic on. You're leading off on this one. Well, actually, no. I'm sorry. It's MF who starts this one off. Never mind. MF, we're going to start this next one off with you. Pac-12. Who comes out of it?
Oh, man. Pac-12 football. I mean, what a crazy season it was a year or so ago. When it was all said and done, I mean, it this was going to be fun. This was going to be fun. This is going to be interesting as usual. Of course, you get the usual suspects, at least in the North. You know, you do have like your Oregons, Washingtons. Washington was a pleasant surprise. So was Stanford a year or so ago, and of course Cal. We'll see what happens with them. I think a lot of people are hoping for a return for greatness, and then of course in the South Division, I mean, I kind of feel like this could be USC's. I don't know why. I feel like USC is the team. They're going to be the one that could win this conference. I think a year or so ago, it was just one of those where you didn't really know if they were completely back all the way back. Well, I'll tell you right now, they're back. They're stronger. They're more powerful. They look more amazing. And to me, I just don't see how on earth this team. I mean, I got so much absolute admire and respect for when it comes to the Pac-12, especially when you got the powerhouses like USC, UCLA. I mean, those teams are just they're unconscionable. Let's say that they're unbelievable, and just overall, and what they did and everything that they did, especially this last season, um, you kind of wonder what to expect when it comes to Pac-12. And I mean, last season it was just one of those seasons where you just did not know. I mean, Washington, what a run they made all the way to the college football playoff. I mean, they got in to the playoff, and then Colorado was the beneficiary because of the fact that um, Washington automatically went to the college football playoff. Colorado automatically went to the Rose Bowl. They went to the granddaddy of them all. So, I mean, it was definitely a great moment for them. Like I said, the teams I think are going to bounce back is I think Stanford's going to bounce back. I'm not really sold on Washington State. I think Washington State is going to take a dive here. Oregon needs to do something. I mean, is for the sake of Eric Carrier, man. I felt so bad for this guy last season. What a horrible season he had. 2-7 conference record, 4-8 overall. And Oregon was always a team that we always talk about being a threat year in and year out for the conference. So I think they're going to have a bounce back year. UCLA should have a bounce back year because they were awful. And right now, in my opinion, I think USC is not only going to win the South Division. I got USC winning the Pac-12, and I think they're a playoff team this year. I got USC as one of my final four when we get to the playoffs. I think they'll get in. So that's just my personal opinion. Michael Bullock, it's all yours.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think this could be the year that that USC really gets back into. I mean, they really get back to what they were back then, and yeah, I mean, Oregon. I mean, they basically have to do something to really fix that team. So. Yeah, I'm just pulling it up. Yeah, I mean, this is... Yeah, the Pac-12 North, I mean... Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, I'm going to probably say Washington State is going to win that conference. And as far as the South, it's definitely going to be USC. But overall, it's definitely going to be USC winning that... the Pac-12. Now, I mean, as far as USC, I mean, making the college football playoff. I mean, it's a possibility, but we just gotta wait and see what happens. So there's really nothing more to say. Flory, what's yours?
It's all about Washington and USC, if I'm going to be real honest. Looking at Washington, while Washington surprised a lot of people last year, I can't say I was shocked to see the Huskies on top in the North. That all boils down to the respect I have for their head coach, Chris Peterson. 100% responsible for putting Boise State on the map. Now with the talent he can recruit at a Power 5 program, the Huskies are here to stay. They're loaded offensively with junior quarterback Jake Browning and junior running back Myles Gaskin, both of which are legitimate Heisman candidates. Also have one of the best offensive lines and plenty of talent at wide receiver. There was a team that could dethrone them. It would have to be Stanford, coming off a quiet 10-win season after starting 4-3, won 6 in a row, all of which came after Keller Christ took over at quarterback. And as much as I love Bryce Love, the loss of Christian McCaffrey will be tough to overcome. The big positive for Stanford is they get to host Washington. Now, as far as the South is concerned, it's USC. I know they disappointed in previous years when picked to win the South, but I feel this time around it's going to be different. You could argue that the Trojans were playing as well as any team in the country to close out last year, winning 9 in a row after a 1-3 start. Had them play 3 or 4 away from home against Alabama, Stanford, and Utah. Big turnaround came when redshirt freshman Sam Darnold took over at QB, completing 67% of his passes for over 3,000 yards and 31 touchdowns in just 10 starts. Many believe he will be the number 1 pick in next year's NFL draft, so it's easy to see why expectations are sky high. Not just Darnold, the Trojans are absolutely loaded on both sides of the ball. They also have the schedule to run away with the South. USC gets 5 home games with the 4 on the road against Cal, Washington State, Arizona State, and Colorado. Big drop-off from the Trojans and the rest of the division. I think UCLA will come out second, but ultimately it's USC. So that's all I can say. So it's between Washington and USC for me. And jury's out to lunch on who I think will win. So I'm just going to leave it at that. It's between Washington and USC for me. And now we move on to perhaps the most powerful conference of them all, the Southeastern Conference. Michael Bullock, front and center. I think I already know who you have winning this thing, but just reiterate anyway.
Yeah, well, when it comes to the, I'm going to start off with the East. I got Florida basically winning winning the East. I just think I like what I've seen from them. And then as far as the West, come on, you got to be kidding. It's Alabama. I mean, what do we always say about Alabama? I mean, they don't rebuild, they reload. They continue to recruit a lot of really good talent, and until I see something that's gonna make me say that there's gonna be a drop off, I just literally can't say that. So Alabama wins the West, and then when it comes to the overall SEC, come on, it's Alabama all the way. And not just Alabama winning the SEC, they're definitely going to be in that college football playoff, because I'll tell you this right now, they're determined to get back to the national championship after the way they lost that national championship game to Clemson. They were this close to securing another national title, and then just like that, it was taken away. So Alabama wins, and they're in that college football playoff. So nothing else to say. Florio, I know who you got, but just elaborate.
Bullock, as much as I would love to see somebody knock off Alabama, it's not going to happen. They're absolutely loaded on both sides of the ball. The only real concern is how the loss of Lane Kiffin will impact the offense. Still, it's hard to see them having trouble scoring. They have a sophomore quarterback, Jalen Hurts, that shined as a true freshman, not to mention a loaded backfield and one of the best wideouts in the country in Calvin Ridley. As you can see, there's one legit threat to the Crimson Tide, and that's Auburn. The Tigers have disappointed the last 3 years, as they have struggled to find an answer at quarterback. That doesn't figure to be a problem anymore. Auburn will add highly touted transfer Jarrett Stidham, who comes over from Baylor. So, but it's Bama, man. I like them in the West, even though Auburn is my closest threat. And in the East, I agree with you, Bullock, it's Florida. It wasn't easy narrowing down the East, but I'm going with Florida, taking it for a third year. third straight year. Head coach Jim McElwain, 19 wins in his first 2 seasons on the job, his third year on the job, and I think this team is poised to explode on the offensive side of the ball. Florida has only averaged 23.2 points and 23.9 points the last 2 years. This year, the Gators returned 9 starters on offense. They also added in talented Notre Dame quarterback Malik Zaire to compete for the starting job. McElwain has done a tremendous job with the little talent he's had at the QB position. It also doesn't hurt that Florida's only 3 true road games in league play are against Kentucky, Missouri, and South Carolina. Those that don't pick the Gators to win the East will likely have Georgia on top of the standings. Not hard to see why. Bulldogs will be in year 2 under Kirby Smart and are loaded with 17 returning starters. It all comes down to the improvement, however, of sophomore quarterback Jacob Eason. A lot of people were right off Tennessee simply due to the loss of starting QB Joshua Dobbs. Could prove to be a mistake because they got 14 starters back from a team that won 9 games and also have been recruiting extremely well under Butch Jones. So a lot to think about, but ultimately it's down to Bama. I think it's Bama and Florida in the title game, and Bama wins again because, well, they're Bama. Simple as that. They're like the New England Patriots, for goodness sakes. They always find a way to win, even though they didn't win the national championship. We'll definitely see them come January, no doubt about it. So, MF, the most powerful conference of them all, Southeastern Conference. Your thoughts?
You're absolutely right. I think Bama will definitely win the West. In the East, I don't know. It's kind of a little more wide open than I thought in recent years. The Maiden Georgia Bulldogs definitely has a chance. So does Tennessee. I actually like Tennessee in this one. I don't know. I'm not as sold on Florida like you are and like Michael Bullock is. I think Tennessee is going to surprise. Like you said, 14 returning starters from a year ago. And on top of that, yes, there is a new quarterback that they're going to have to deal with. But I think with the coaching staff that Tennessee had, I'm going to say I think Tennessee is going to win the East. I think Tennessee will win the East Division. Alabama will win the West, and obviously Nick Saban and Alabama should win the conference and then go on to the college football playoff again. I definitely see that happening. It's going to be very interesting to see how the other teams are going to step up, like Auburn. LSU, I don't think they're going to have a good year. I kind of feel like they're going to be on shaky ground. Arkansas might be one of those that flies under the radar. Keep an eye on them. They might surprise a few people this season, but we'll wait and see what happens. But yeah, I'm with you guys. I got Alabama winning the West. I got Tennessee winning the East, but I got Alabama ultimately winning the conference. So, all right, I think that's it for college football. So, Mike.
Well, we have one more thing to do. We have one more piece.
Oh, Notre Dame. I'm sorry. I stand corrected.
Couldn't wait to move on, could you?
I don't really have much, nothing good to say about Notre Dame. Sorry to say.
Oh, of course not. Not you. But anyways, only fitting I start this off. I mean, honestly, Brian Kelly should feel lucky to still have a job after what Notre Dame brought to the table last year. Average offense, poor defense, and that led to the team's overall record of 4-8. Missing a bowl game and finishing with less than 8 wins during his tenure with the Irish had to be a wake-up call for Kelly. If not, well, he could be on the hot seat once again as this season progresses. Some will believe he shouldn't have even survived last year because of how bad it was. Well, he's back and ready to prove that last year was a fluke. They'll have to do so without DeShone Kizer and Malik Zaire. They have 7 starters on offense returning, 4 on defense, but the talent replacing each of the departing number ones is arguably just as good, if not better than its predecessors. They have a handful of seniors coming back to avenge last season's poor showing, but a solid mix of underclassmen to build for the future. Of course, we know DeShone Kizer and Malik Zaire are gone, but getting the starting nod is junior Brandon Wimbush, highly touted 4-star dual threat from Jersey, 5 career pass attempts at the collegiate level, with 3 completions for 17 yards. Hype surrounding him is immense. Despite only attempting 5 passes, he has 7 rushes in that same span for 96 yards and a score. If he can show that same scrambling ability and speed this year, the Irish are going to be upgrading the quarterback position. Hard to believe after Kizer was so consistent. And for Wimbush, he's got 4 starters on the O-line coming back, leaving only the right tackle spot to be filled, presumably by Tommy Kramer. Running back is an area of strength, as well as juniors Josh Adams and Dexter Williams return to lead. And although it was an area of weakness last year, ranking 80th in the nation, run game will be flanked by a near 1,000-yard rusher from last year in Adams, and a 5.1 yards per carry back in Williams. Of course, equanimous St. Brown, returning to receiving corps as the leader from a year ago, 58 catches, 961 yards, and 9 scores. Of course, Miles Boykin and Chase Claypool look to be starting receivers, but neither have recorded over 100 yards last year, and they have a ton of inexperience in the core. So, and C.J. Sanders will play a vital role. The defenses have, been known for being tough and stingy, and last year they were soft and porous. And 3 of their top 4 leaders are back, headlined by Niles Morgan, who could prove to be the leader of the defense and surpass the 100 tackle mark. Junior linebackers Drew Tranquil and Tevion Coney, which Julian Love is back at sophomore. And unfortunately for Notre Dame, the defensive line is a major area of concern. 2 returning starters, one of them projected to start, Andrew Trimbetti, could crack the starting rotation. And last year, the defense ranked 72nd against the run, allowing over 182 yards a game. And sophomores Elijah Taylor and Julian Aquara could also have an impact. Combine those pieces with a strong linebacking unit, you'll see a vastly improved defense and pass rushing unit that only recorded 13 sacks as a team last year. This schedule is not quite as daunting as it's been in years past, but the Fighting Irish are far from guaranteed a spot in the bowl game. If Brian Kelly can get through the schedule with like 8 or 9 wins, you can bet fans will be singing his praises for the turnaround. They opened the year against Temple, winnable home game. Then they hit the road, playing Boston College in Chestnut Hill. And then, of course, Michigan State. Could that be 2 straight losses? Maybe. Fighting Irish, 4 remaining games, excuse me, against ACC foes on the schedule. Why not just join the conference? At North Carolina, at home against NC State and Wake Forest, and then at Miami, Stanford and USC are the traditional Pac-12 opponents, and the Irish get the Cardinal away, and the Trojans are coming to South Bend. If I'm going to be real honest, I'm looking at a 7-5 season. I think they'll go 7-5 and just miss Kelly's safe zone of 8 wins. Whether or not he continues as the head coach will depend on if the AD believes this 7-win season will be the start of an upward trend. As for the wins and losses, I think they'll lose 2 home games, USC and Georgia, and will struggle at Stanford, at Miami, and at Michigan State. North Carolina, too, will be a tough test, but they can squeak one out there. Can't knock a bowl bid after a 4-8 campaign. So that's what I can say for Notre Dame. So 7-5 at best. So MF, how does this year look for Notre Dame to you?
Well, I mean, with Notre Dame, I'm kind of optimistic about it. That first game is against Temple. I think they should win that game. I think Temple is not that great. Georgia, that's really tough. I mean, you never know with Georgia. I think they will lose. They're going to beat Boston College. Boston College is such a mess right now. I think they didn't even win an ACC game last year. I mean, that's how bad they are. So, no. Michigan State, depending what they get from Michigan State but the game is in East Lansing, so that's a real tough game. I don't know. Miami of Ohio, I think they'll win that one. UNC, I don't know. I just don't know about North Carolina. I think they could steal that one. No way. I think they lose to USC because, again, I think USC not only wins the Pac-12, but I said that they're going to be one of the Final Four, so I got to hold of that true. Then I think they'll beat NC State. They'll beat Wake. They should lose to Miami. I just don't see them winning that game. The Navy game, you never know with Navy what type of team they get. Because, like I said, in recent years, Navy has looked really good. Some years they've looked really bad, depending on what type of Navy we get. And then, yeah, Stanford, forget it. You just don't even give up on that game. I don't see them winning that one. In Stanford, too, yeah, forget it. Bye, Felicia. So right there, that's about maybe 4 losses I counted there. Georgia, Michigan State, USC, maybe Miami. So that's 4. Actually, that's 5. 7-5. I got 7-5 as well. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe enough to get a bowl, but not enough to probably save Kelly's job. I don't know. So Mike Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame's probably going to have an all right season. I agree. I mean, it's basically going to be 7-5, just enough to make a bowl game. Now, whether they win it or not, that remains to be seen. And same thing when it comes to if Brian Kelly's job will be saved, but wait and see. So nothing else I could say. So let's just move on, Florio.
And we're gonna move on to you, Michael Bullock. Last Friday night, you went to the big time wrestling event at McCoy Stadium at Pawtucket, and needless to say, you got to meet perhaps who many call the greatest wrestler of all time.
Oh yes, it was a pretty good night at McCoy Stadium for big time wrestling. Right before the actual action took place, they had an autograph session where you could basically get to meet some of the wrestlers, and yes, I did get a chance to get an autograph from, and of course have a picture taken with the 16-time world champion, woo, Nature Boy Ric Flair. And boy, just being up close to him was something I'll never forget. I mean, to get to see him up close, and I'll tell you, the line for Ric Flair, it was really, 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 really long. But I basically waited, I think it was about half an hour to 45 minutes till I finally got in there to get an autograph, and a photo taken with him, and I think it was definitely worth it. And I also got to have my picture taken with the suicidal, homicidal, genocidal, death-defying Sabu. And yeah, and I did that that pose that he always likes to do. And another thing, of course, well, Tommy Dreamer was originally supposed to be there, but I guess he didn't. So the Sandman was there, and I got a picture taken with him. And yes, he did have his Singapore cane with him. And yeah, basically, and yeah, there were some other superstars. Other wrestlers that were there. Of course, Kenny and Mikey of the Spirit Squad was there. Even the Patriot was there, and Florio, of course, you should know this man. Of course, he came this close to beating your man Bret the Hitman Hart back at the at that In Your House Ground Zero pay-per-view back in 1997. And
yeah, Del Wilkes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
His biggest claim to fame was when he beat Bret Hart on the go home to SummerSlam Monday Night Raw in '97 in Pittsburgh, with a little help from Shawn Michaels, of course.
Yeah, and of course, Mr. USA Tony Atlas was there as well, and yeah, it was a great night, and basically they had a lot of wrestling stuff set up, like old WWE magazines from the past, and action figures, belts, autographed pictures, a lot of great stuff there. And and yes, the Steiner brothers were there as well, but they didn't sign autographs till basically after their main event was over. And yeah, of course, some of the matches that did go down that I remember, of course, obviously the main event being the Steiner brothers against Kenny and Mikey of the Spirit Squad. And then, of course, Ric Flair basically opening up with a promo, and then Sabu, of course, Sabu and the Sandman were in tag team action with basically being contested in it under Extreme Rules against a couple of other wrestlers. So yeah, so definitely it was a great night. It was a pretty good crowd at McCoy Stadium. So yeah, so that's pretty much all I can say. So Florio, I mean, unless you and Fletcher want to elaborate more, if not, let's get on to our Major League Baseball power rankings, the final Major League Baseball power rankings.
Yeah, you were there, Bullock. I mean, I wish you could. I wish you could have shown off the autographs that you got. I mean, the photos that you had with Ric Flair and.
Oh wait a minute! I can actually pull it up on my phone.
There you go.
Yeah, I can actually. Let me actually turn my camera on.
You showed it to us last week. We had our behind the scenes chat. All right, let's get a close up there. There he is, Michael Bullock, with the man right there, Nature Boy Ric Flair. I only wish, Bullock, that when you that before the photo op, you would have either thrown it up Fortune 4 style or you would have thrown it up Four Horsemen style with him.
I know. I wish I could have done that. And then.
Yep, there he is. Of course, MF does the intro better than anybody. And I know MF's probably getting goosebumps right now seeing Sabu there. And, yep, former ECW champion in his own right. And then, of course, the Sandman, Singapore Kane and all. And I know he did the his infamous entrance with the
Oh yes, he did that. Yeah. And instead of the thing is, instead of him smashing the beer like on his head like he used to do, he was actually like letting the fans having a taste of it.
Wow. How about that? And
well, unfortunately he didn't come close to where I was, so unfortunately I didn't get in on the fun.
But as you saw the show, I mean, how was the overall show?
I thought I thought it was good. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was definitely a good show. I mean, just to basically see all those wrestlers there. I mean, the crowd basically literally went crazy when Ric Flair came out.
Oh,
I mean, McCoy Stadium was basically wooing like crazy.
Yes, indeed, and that's awesome, man. I'm glad you got to do that, and I wish we could have been there, but you know,
but you both had commitments.
Yeah, but nonetheless, you got to go and you got to have a great time. So that's all that matters, and hopefully we can make a pact to do that next year and go to that, meet our idols, meet our heroes from our childhood, and eat some of that awesome McCoy Stadium ballpark food, man. That ballpark food, amazing. And I went to that Ball Sox game with my aunt and her friends at the end of May. I mean, oh my goodness, that food was delish. That's all I'm gonna say. So, rapid fire style MLB power rankings. Of course, I'll handle the formalities, the schematics, you know. And I'm gonna be honest, several duds in this power ranking this time around, and I mean several duds compared to a week ago. First and foremost, gentlemen, what happened to the Houston Astros? Whoa, my goodness gracious. Well, that's right. I didn't even have them in the rankings last week, but they ain't in them this week. They're gone. See ya. See ya. Bye. Cleveland Indians, another dud. 4-6 in their last 10. Unbelievable. They're gone. My New York Yankees, another dud. Even with that huge win tonight against the Sox, they gone. Arizona, Arizona had a chance to really push the Dodgers. Nope. That didn't happen. And the Chicago Cubs are playing more like World Series chumps than World Series champs. And another dud, the Milwaukee Brewers. Losers of 6 in a row, 3-7 in their last 10 games. See you bye. And finally, the Kansas City Royals. What's up with them? They were looking like that team from 2 years ago. They've lost 5 in a row, and they're 2-8 in their last 10. Unreal. But I do have one honorable mention. Baltimore Orioles. 6-4 in their last 10. Winners of 1 in a row. 57 and 58. They're right there. They're right on the cusp of this thing. So I think I'm just going to leave it at that. So, okay. Let's see where to start. Where to start real quick. Try to make this as, rapid fire as we possibly can. I think I have Tampa at number 10. Just want to double check on this. I believe it's Tampa at number 10. Yes, Tampa Rays, Tampa Bay Rays. They are my number 10 in the power rankings this time in for this final power ranking here. Hold on a minute. All right. 5-5 in the last 10, 59-58. Lost 1 in a row. 8th in ERA, 11th in home runs allowed, batting average 19th, runs 20th. And a quick schematic from the week to week. Lost 2 out of 3 to Milwaukee. Got swept by the Red Sox 2 in a row. And so far 1-1 against the Cleveland Indians. With 2 more against the Indians this weekend. 4-game series with the Blue Jays in Toronto starting Monday. And then a 3-game series against the Seattle Mariners. So Tampa Bay Rays are number 10. MF, what says you?
You know what? I'll say that. Yeah, I agree with that. I'll give you the Tampa Rays at number 10, no doubt about it. Nothing more to say, Michael Bullock. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, sorry about that. I mean, I accidentally hit the hang up button. So, yeah. So, my number 10, I do agree. It's the Tampa Bay Rays. So let's move on to number 9.
Number 9 for me, Colorado Rockies. The 65-50, 5-5 the last 10 games, 1-game loss. Bullock, it's yours.
Colorado Rockies at number 9. Florio, it's yours.
Making unanimous, it's Colorado. 5-5 in their last 10, losers of 1 in a row. They have the better record, obviously, than Tampa, so that's why they get the benefit of the doubt. They're 3rd in batting average and runs scored, 14th in home runs allowed, and 21st in the ERA. And from the week-to-week basis, they won 2 out of 3 from the Philadelphia Phillies, split a 2-game series with the Cleveland Indians in Cleveland, but they lost to the Miami Marlins tonight. 2 more games against the Marlins in Miami. 4-game series with Fletcher's Braves starting Monday, and then a 3-game series against the Milwaukee Brewers. If you want to see the rest of their schedule, just, basically go on whatever site, tickles your fancy, whether it's Yahoo Sports or MLB.com. Only diehard fans will know their schedules. We're not going to go into the rest of that. So, let's see. Yep. Number 9 is the Colorado Rockies, and I'll start off number 8. Excuse me. Number 8 is the Seattle Mariners. 59-57, 1 in a row lost, 6-4 in the last 10 games. And they are 9th in runs scored, 10th in batting average, 15th in ERA, 29th in home runs allowed. Solid offense. Pitching needs work. They split a 4-game series with the Kansas City Royals in Kansas City. Went 2-2 in that. Swept the Oakland A's in a brief 2-game series. lost to the Angels last night. They're currently tied with the Angels 5-5 in the bottom of the 8th at Safeco Field. 2 more games against the Angels. Excuse me. 2 more games against the Angels this weekend. 3-game series at home with the Orioles starting Monday, off on Thursday, and then a 3-game series with the Tampa Bay Rays in Tampa next weekend. So that's all I can say there. Seattle Mariners are number 8. MF, how about it?
Agreed. Seattle Mariners number 8. Bullock is yours.
Seattle Mariners are number 8. Fletcher, let's move on to number 7.
Washington Nationals. 6-4 in the last 10 games, winners of 2 in a row. Their record, even though they are far and away in the division, with the body of work of a whole bunch of other teams, there's no doubt about this. This is an easy call for me. Washington Nationals number 7. Bullock is yours.
Washington Nationals are number 7. Warrior, what's yours?
Make it unanimous. Washington Nationals, 68-45, second best record in the National League. 6-4 in the last 10, winners of 2 in a row. Second in both batting average and runs scored, 9th in the ERA, 15th in home runs allowed. And last check of the rankings, won 2 out of 3 from the Chicago Cubs in Chicago, and then followed that up by winning 3 out of 4 from the Miami Marlins at home. Rained out against the Giants tonight. So they have a single game tomorrow, and then they'll have a day-night doubleheader on Sunday. They're off on Monday. 2-game interleague series at home against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Then a 4-game series next weekend in San Diego against the Padres. So that's pretty much it. So the Washington Nationals are the number 7 team. Number 6, oh boy. We have a new addition, gentlemen. Where did this team come from? Number, what is this? Number 6? Give it up for the Pittsburgh Pirates, guys. They're at 500. They've won 2 in a row, 7-3 in the last 10 games, and they have just entered the race in the NL Central. They're 2.5 out. 6th in home runs allowed, 12th in ERA, 23rd in batting average, 25th in runs scored. And since our last rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the San Diego Padres, won 3 out of 4 from the Detroit Tigers in Detroit, and then beat the Blue Jays in Toronto tonight, 4-2. 2 more games against the Blue Jays this weekend in Toronto, off on Monday. 2-game series, a brief 2-game series in Milwaukee against the Brew Crew, and then a huge 4-game series with the St. Louis Cardinals at home next week, including Sunday Night Baseball on SummerSlam Sunday, August 20th. So there you have it. Number 6, Pittsburgh Pirates. MF about it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Number 6 is Pittsburgh. They've been unbelievable lately. 2.5 out in the division, and you want to talk about compelling baseball. Everybody thought that it was Chicago's to walk away from. Oh, no. They only got a half-game lead against St. Louis. Milwaukee's 2.5 out. Pittsburgh's 2.5 out. Man, it has gotten tight in the Central Division. We all thought that this was Chicago's easily. Oh, no, my friends. It just got real interesting. The fun has just begun. So, yeah, nothing more to say. Mike Bullock, is yours.
Yeah, Pittsburgh Pirates, number 6. Yeah, they're definitely on a roll right now. So, Fletcher, let's move on to number 5.
Okay, guys. Here's the thing. If this team would have won tonight, this team would have been number 1 in the rankings. It's the Boston Red Sox. They lost to the Yankees, and they had to pay the price for it. That 5-4 loss tonight by the Red Sox to the Yankees, it cost them majorly. 8-2 in the last 10 games. That one loss did it. That one major loss, that loss to the Yankees tonight, and because they were like 9 in a row at one point. Like, they were red hot, and they just lost tonight, and we had to punish them the most hardest way that we could off the number one perch because going in, I had them penciled at number one. And then with that loss, down they go. My number 5 is the Boston Red Sox. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yes, Boston Red Sox, number 5 for me as well. Florio, what's yours?
We have a disagreement, gentlemen. I got Boston just a little higher. My number 5 is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. They're at 500, and they've won 3 in a row and 7-3 in their last 10 games. Major caveat there. So let's look what the Angels have done. Okay, they did lose 2 out of 3 to Oakland, but they made up for it by winning 2 out of 3 against Baltimore, beat Seattle last night, and they're currently tied with Seattle 5-5 in the bottom of the 8th at Safeco Field right now. So 2 more games against the Mariners this weekend, off on Monday. 2-game interleague series against the Washington Nationals in Washington, off again Thursday. And then a 3-game series at Camden Yards against the Orioles, who are on the outside looking in with the power rankings. So that's it. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, number 5 for me. Hopefully this will be our only disagreement of the night. Number 4, this, gentlemen, this is where you should have the Boston Red Sox. Number 4. 100% agree with MF. If they didn't lose to the Yankees tonight, they would have hands down been number 1. No doubt about it. Because they were 9-1 in their last 10. They'd won like 8 or 9 in a row. And then they came up just a little bit short against my Yanks. That definitely helps the Yanks. But they just missed the rankings. Red Sox are 3rd in ERA, 4th in batting average, and 10th in runs scored and home runs allowed. Red Sox had a 4-game sweep of the Chicago White Sox at Fenway. They were off on Monday, went into Tampa, made themselves at home against the Rays, sweeping them 2 in a row, outscoring them 10-2. They were off on Thursday, and then they lost to the Yankees tonight. And by the way, they outscored the White Sox. I believe it was 22-11. Yes. 2 more games against the Yankees in New York. Saturday today will be on FS1, and then Sunday Night Baseball. I know Bullock will be all over that. And then Monday they have a makeup game at home against the Cleveland Indians, and then they have the St. Louis Cardinals coming in for a 2-game interleague series, where they'll conjure up some World Series memories. Off on Thursday, and then Bullock, guess what, man? We do it again. The Yanks and the Sox. Only this time it'll be at Fenway, not in New York. So, if not for the loss to the Yanks, they would have been number 1. But for me, number 4, this is where you guys should have had the Boston Red Sox. Just saying. So, how about it now, MF?
You know what? I would do that, but I'm going to really piss people off right now. My number 4, the LA Dodgers. Yes, they're 8-2 in the last 10 games. They did win 2 in a row, but I'm actually going to hold those 3 wins in a row a little more higher than I would regard anything else. This is the final power rankings. I'm going to blow this up so sky high that I'm going to make people go nuts. You want controversy? Bring it on, people. I'm ready for it. My number 4 is actually the LA Dodgers. Michael Bullock, go ahead.
I actually have the LA Angels at number 4. I got the Dodgers just a bit higher, so nothing else to say. Let's move on to number 3.
This is where I have the LA Angels of Anaheim at number 3, because I'm giving the streaks the due diligence and everything else. Yes, I did probably muck on the fact about the Boston Red Sox, but you know what? I'm not gonna reverse pivot like I do in the past, because this is the final power ranking. So I'm gonna just I'm just gonna roll the dice and let it ride on this one. I could care less. So yeah, my number 3 is the LA Angels of Anaheim. The 7-3, the winners of 3 in a row. That definitely holds stock for me than anything else. And I believe they're actually ahead right now on the Seattle Mariners too. So that's actually very crucial, because that could be 4 in a row for them, and that's why my stock is even more higher on the Angels than anything else. So with that said, we're just gonna let it be. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, this is where I have the Dodgers at number 3. So I probably may have messed it up. If I did, I do apologize. So right now, Florio, what's yours?
Bullock, I agree with you. Los Angeles Dodgers are my number 3. 2 in a row, 8-2 in the last 10, 81-33 overall record, best record in all of baseball. 4 games behind the 98 Yankee base. So they're probably on pace to still win around 110, 111 games or so. They lead the league in ERA and home runs allowed. They're 5th in runs scored, 10th in batting average, and this is what they've done since our last ranking. So easy 3-game sweep of the New York Mets. 1, 2 out of 3 from the Arizona Diamondbacks in Arizona in that huge series. And right now, believe it or not, guys, they're trailing the San Diego Padres of all teams, 4-3 in the bottom of the 8th inning. So they better wake up, or else they're going to lose this thing. And perhaps that number 3 will be justified. So that's really all I can say on that. So to me, they're still the favorites to win it all, no doubt about it. So that's all I can say there. Number 3, Los Angeles Dodgers. Number 2, a very surprised number 2. How about the Minnesota Twins, guys? They're number 2. Winners of 6 in a row, 8-2 in their last 10 games, 58-56. Right back in the race in the Central. They're 3.5 out. 18th in batting average, 19th in runs scored, 25th in both ERA and runs allowed. And since our last rankings, they split a 4-game series with the Texas Rangers, a 4-game sweep of the Milwaukee Brewers. They won 2 in a row at home, outscoring them 16-8 in those 2 games, and then went into Milwaukee, won those 2 games, outscoring Milwaukee 11-2. Overall, they outscored them 27-10. Unbelievable. And then they went into Detroit, beat up on the Tigers 9-4. 2 more games against the Tigers in Detroit this weekend. They're off Monday. Huge 3-game series with the Cleveland Indians. That's a major division implication series right there. And then a 3-game interleague series at home against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So Minnesota Twins, number 2. Wow, how about it? MF, what do you say?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Minnesota deserves where they're at. They've been unbelievable lately. So yeah, no, you're right. Number 2, Minnesota Twins. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, Minnesota Twins number 2. So Fletch number 1.
I think it's time, MF, I think it's time for you to channel your inner 2006 and 2011 World Series call, if you know what I mean.
You really want me to do it?
Well,
okay.
I was going to say.
Okay. Go crazy, Uncle Ed. Go crazy, Didi Woodson and Kevin Woodson and all of the Woodson family. Your St. Louis Cardinals are the number 1 team in the final power ranking of the season. 8-2 in the last 10 games. Winners of 7 in a row. And boys, they look like they are poised to win the division. All of a sudden, Chicago's starting to slip a little bit, and St. Louis has caught fire at the right time because here they come. They are right nipping on the heels of Chicago, and man alive if they pull this off. Oh man, this could be very interesting, man. Second half of the season, the dog days of summer, and teams would start to come out, and they're rising, they're getting better. So we'll see. But number 1, St. Louis. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, number 1 is the St. Louis Cardinals. Florio, it's yours.
Without a doubt, number 1 with a bullet, it is the St. Louis Cardinals. Go crazy, Uncle Ed. Go crazy, Didi Woodson. The Woodson family. Wow, who would have saw this coming? I don't think they were even in our rankings last week, and now the number 1. Wow. Winners of 7 in a row, 8-2 in the last 10. 4 teams, guys. 4 teams in the NL Central. There's 2.5 games separating them. Of course, Cincinnati is far and away out of it. But you got the Cardinals, you got the Cubs, you got the Brewers, and you got the Pirates. Oh, my goodness. Within the next couple of months, that thing's going to be unbelievable. St. Louis is 5th in ERA, 7th in home runs allowed, 10th in batting average, 14th in runs scored. Okay. Well, actually, no. Never mind. They won 2 out of 3 from the Cincinnati Reds in Cincinnati. 4-game sweep of the Kansas City Royals. And they outscored them 37-17, guys. 37-17. 21-6 in Kansas City, and then 16-11 in St. Louis. So a 4-game sweep. They won 2 in Kansas City, and then won 2 at home against Kansas City. And then, sorry MF, but they beat your Braves tonight, 8-5 in St. Louis. 2 more games against the Braves this weekend, off on Monday. And then guess what, Bullock? You got to deal with, your Red Sox have to deal with them at Fenway for a 2-game interleague series starting Tuesday night. Conjure up those World Series memories. Then, of course, that huge series that we didn't think was really significant just got real. Just got damn real. 4-game series in Pittsburgh against the Pirates next week at PNC Park, culminating with Sunday night baseball at the time of SummerSlam. How about it? St. Louis Cardinals #1. And with that, wrap up another season. Strictly Sports. I humbly and sincerely apologize to all our fans out there for technical difficulties on my end. I honestly had no idea. I'm glad these guys spoke up and said something. Otherwise, it would have been a disaster of the show. So that's all I can say on that. So let's get into our shout-outs real quick, gentlemen. So whoever wants to first take it, and then I'll set up some very exciting future content coming up.
All right. First off, I want to say thank you to all the great fans for making the show as amazing as it is, as always. You guys have been there through the good, the bad, the ugly, the chaos, the fights, the tears of joy, the tears of sadness, the rage that me and Bullock definitely had at one time. But you guys have been supportive the whole way through, and we appreciate everything you guys do each and every time out. So you guys are the best. Shout out to the super fans. Shout out to my friends in the junior high and high school days. Shout out to the 2184 crew. And that's it, guys. So until then, it's Mike Fletcher. You know the routine. Hugs and hand pounds. We're out. Have a good night. So long for now. Mike Bullock, it's all yours, my friend.
Yes, of course. Shout outs to all of our fans and viewers out there who support our shows, whether it's this or Ridiculously Raw or the Cerebral Smack Talk. We thank you so very much for tuning in all year long for Strictly Sports. I mean, for supporting us through all the things, especially when we go on rants and stuff. But you guys are the best. So, yeah, shout outs to all of our friends, to all of our super fans out there. You guys know who you are. Shout outs to our friends from high school days. You guys know who you are. To our local personalities from 610 and 12. Our personalities from ESPN, Fox Sports, MLB Network, NFL Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, and of course, to Stacia Sorrell and Lindsay McCormick, and of course our friends from the Road Show, former co-hosts Mary Larson, Megan Mooney, and of course the 3 current people, Will Giller, Brendan Kirby, and Michaela Johnson. So yeah. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Wrong, this is Mike Bullock saying thank you all so very much for tuning in. And of course, you know the routine. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw to Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, and I'll see you guys Monday night. Florio, it's yours.
Yes, indeed, Bullock. Special shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to make our shows as over as they are. We appreciate it as always. You are the best fans of the world, especially putting up with us tonight through all the technical difficulties on my end and all season long. I mean, a lot of standout moments, of course, that infamous blow up between MF and Bullock during that Aaron Hernandez segment back on May 19th. But thankfully, that's water under the bridge now. And I was the one responsible for, basically harpooning that. And definitely regret that. So I promise you, next year we'll try to keep that at a minimum. So anywho, special shout out to Dee Dee Woodson, the first lady of the Wrestling Forum, the Twisted Angel, Dee Dee Woodson, and Kevin Woodson and the Woodson family, Matt Ward, Jason Hicksonball, Dana Luttrell from the UK, the other first ladies, Kaiser Butler, Megan Silva, and Lexi Calloway. Other crew members, Eric Carrier, Tommy Souza, Jimmy Alden, Al Grayson, and Rob Parsons. And, of course, the man himself, Derek Ferreri. He does it all. Falcon Striker 445. He does it all. And without him, we wouldn't even have this. So we thank him for that. And, of course, let's not forget our crew members from 6, 10, and 12. FS1, ESPN, MLB Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, NFL Network, the whole 9 yards. Status Sorrell, Lindsay McCormick, Julie Alexandria, Chantel McKay from the Golf Channel, and friends from the Road Show, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, Michaela Johnson, and former co-hosts Megan Mooney and Mary Larson. And, of course, last but not least, my wonderful church family over at the Oasis of Grace Ministries, 464 Silver Spring Street in Providence. If you need a church home, check them out. Exit 25 off Route 95. Huge things coming up. Of course, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Bible study, 10 a.m. service a little after. Wednesday at 7, Bible study. Next Friday night at 7, a special movie night, which is something I'm looking forward to. And then an outreach next Saturday morning, and then next Sunday, the 20th, not just service, but a huge church picnic as well. I'll have all the details on that next week. And yeah, very exciting things coming up at the church over there. And I'm really looking forward to all of it. So of course, future content, of course, Monday night, we start SummerSlam week. Huge week. Monday night, the Go Home show. Monday Night Raw, the Go Home for SummerSlam. We'll review it. Hopefully it's a good show. And I'll also give you my Tony's take on 205 Live and Impact Wrestling, as always. Back to normal. Role Reversal week was great. Very enjoyable. And then Tuesday night, at either 10 or 10:30, MF will be back with the Cerebral Smack Talk. We'll review the Go Home SummerSlam edition of SmackDown Live. And then MS Monkey's Mindset, Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, other stuff like that. And then next Friday night, it's not strictly sports. It's going to be a very special Wrestling Forum show where we're going to preview both NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3 and the 30th annual SummerSlam. And then the recap over on MF's channel on that Sunday night. So very exciting content coming up. We hope you all stay tuned, and it's going to be a fun and wild ride going forward, and I cannot wait. So that's it. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, it's Anthony Florio here for Michael Bullock, and in spirit, good old MF Michael Fletcher, the Twisted Angel Dee Dee Woodson, and Derek Ferrera. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed weekend. And until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, you've been watching the season finale of Strictly Sports right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube.com. For now, Anthony Florio.